Welcome to the Legacy Solutions Podcast, where we discuss the principles of mindset, management, and maintenance, and how each plays a pivotal role in building your life, your family, and your business. Thanks for joining in on the conversation with your host, Darnisha.
Family, we are back for another episode of Legacy Solutions Podcast. And today I have a very special guest, Shane Harris. Welcome so much to Legacy Solutions. I'm glad to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. So that's Shane, actually known as Shane the Negotiator.
Oh, get me together. Shane the Negotiator. I love it. I love it. So actually, I'm going to ask you about that. But before we get into it, I just want to mention that for the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about one of the principles of legacy building, which is management of our resources and management of our business. And so Shane is here to talk to us about S Corps and how an S Corp could be beneficial to you and your business. But before we get into that, where does the negotiator come from? You got to tell me the story.
Yes. Okay. So I'll tell you quickly about that. So ever since I was little, I was always pretty good at making deals. Like I was always trying to strike a deal with something, and I used to get in trouble for it. So I've actually figured out now I can actually get paid to make deals.
Yes.
So I've discovered that I'm pretty good with, coming up with packages and services that, to help people on the fly. So sometimes I might be on a consultation or appointment with somebody and they like, oh, I need this. And I can just come up right there on the spot, come up with the package, come up with something that can help them. And also, my superpower is negotiating deals with just about anything. I mean, it could be like lowering my T-Mobile bill, lowering your T-Mobile bill. I've had friends and family call me to negotiate contracts for the people that they need to work with. And so that's kind of like the thing. So then it was like, my sister was just like, Shane the Negotiator. I was like, you know what? I kind of like that. So I started singing like, it's time for the percolator. So now it's like Shane the Negotiator. That's kind of
I love it. So I'm gonna get you on the phone with Verizon because baby, they've been tripping lately. Like,
I have free phones and new service.
Listen, all right, we're gonna do that later. So Shane, tell us about your business. And I know you negotiate, but aside from that, how do you help your clients?
Okay, so the name of my business is Profit First Taxes. And when I initially started, it was Shane Harris LLC. Although Shane Harris LLC was pretty good, I was like, no, I wanted something that's going to be separate from me, from my name. Because when you Google Shane Harris, the white guy shows up, and that is not. Branding is very important. So
yes.
First Taxes, because that is a huge part of my services, is using the Profit First assessment. If you guys haven't heard about that, is where, you pretty much budget and manage your finances with multiple accounts. So that's where the name came from. And then of course, tax services. So I do, of course, taxes for individuals and businesses, definitely budgeting. So when I do accounting services, like monthly bookkeeping with my clients, it's an automatic. If you work with me, you have to do budgeting. It's no way around it, because if you want to scale in your business, you have to budget. So Absolutely. If you just do a cleanup and, monthly service, well, I just want basic bookkeeping. Well, Profit First Taxes and Shane the Negotiator will not be the person for you, because everybody gets budgeting when we do monthly services.
That's good. I think people make budgeting seem like it's big and scary. And one thing that I love about Profit First, I use it for myself and my business, and I've also recommended it to my clients as well, is that it's like, it simplifies budgeting, and like, it just puts you in a position. Like, I don't know, like I was able to get off of my job. We were living off of one income from my husband's business for over a year and a half, just because we were effectively using the Profit First system.
Absolutely. I've started implementing that. Well, I started doing a variation of it before I went into business. Because I don't know if you guys have heard of the Budgetnista. So I used to follow her, and I started implementing the multiple accounts and things like that. So when I started going into business and I read the Profit First book, I was sold from the beginning. The first couple of lines, I was like, yes, this is what I want to do. Yes. So I incorporated that into my own business. and it works. It can sustain. So at times I may have some months where it's kind of dry. I'm not getting as much clients, or I need to take off because I have other things that I'm doing. That budget that I have in place really goes a long way for me to continue to still pay myself.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was just thinking, I was laughing with another colleague about when we were talking about you being tax season. Was it tax season rich? And then like after tax season, baby.
Yeah, but not over here, not
Yeah,
across the profession.
exactly.
Be rich all
Exactly.
year.
Exactly. When you have systems in place, it helps you
Absolutely.
avoid those slumps. So I
And
love
I've actually helped quite a few of my clients implement the profit first. And it's scary initially when they get started because they're like, how many accounts I need to open up? And then
it.
we build on that. So much so that they end up they want to add more accounts than that after a while
Yes.
because it becomes addictive when you see how much money you can really save.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. Absolutely. So another big thing or something major, I guess, that's coming up is that not just you, but you, myself, and some other colleagues, we are co-authors in a book, and it's called Small Business Tax Strategies. And in that book, we're discussing multiple strategies that small business owners can implement in growing their business, maintaining their business, just taking it to the next level. And so if you can just give us a little bit more information on your chapter, what you're discussing, and how you can help business owners?
Yeah, absolutely. So the chapter that I'm writing on is the benefits of S corporations. So that's what I'm writing mine on because I feel like it's very important. So a lot of times when it comes to S Corps, people don't really know too much about it, or you hear stuff on TikTok and you might Google, you hear stuff on YouTube and things like that. And everyone's like, okay, I want an S Corp, but it's like people don't really know what an S Corp is about. So I wanted to really highlight that in the chapter that I was assigned to, what the benefits are, how it can affect your business and how it can help you, and how you can really grow your business by, implementing this, especially for the clientele that I service, which is mainly coaches and consultants and service providers. So service-based business definitely benefit from S Corps because you really usually have lower overhead, and you may usually have a higher revenue point. So, going into an S Corp where you can put yourself on payroll is usually recommended.
Good. So let me ask you this, and I think just backtracking a little bit, most people don't understand, as you mentioned, like what an S Corp is. So if you
Yeah.
can just give us a little bit of background on that, like what is an
Yeah,
S Corp?
sure. So an S Corp, it's not a business entity like a LLC. It's actually a tax election. So you are an LLC because you couldn't be a sole proprietor. Like you don't have an LLC, you're just operating with an EIN or your social security number. You wouldn't be able to be an S Corp. So you have to have an LLC. So you create the LLC and then you can do what's called an election to elect to be taxed as an S Corp. So you have an S Corp and then you have a C Corp. These two elections will allow you to be taxed as a corporation, but have the benefits of an LLC. So you get a little bit of both worlds.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I explain that to a lot of clients is that IRS doesn't even recognize an LLC. And so I think that's a big misconception. Like, I'm an LLC, how does that affect my taxes? Like, there's some nuances to it. So
right, absolutely. I mean, I wrote a ebook on that, on S Corps a little bit, where I touched on it, where I was talking about profitability. So it's like biggest mistakes business owners, make when it comes to S Corps. I wrote an ebook on that, which you can find that on my website. And of course, in the part of the book collab, I went into more details on what this S Corp is actually about.
okay, good. Now, what are some benefits of becoming an S Corp? And is
All
there
right,
a certain point, I'm sorry, is there a certain point where someone should consider to become an S Corp?
Yes, absolutely. So in the beginning, so before you even, you're thinking about the business type that you want to create for yourself, you have to think about longevity. If you're creating something, you're trying to just do it for a couple of months, a couple of years, then, you might not really care. But if you really plan on having a business for years and years and even passing that down, and you're going to have the type of business where especially if you're service-based, you definitely want to consider that because as I just mentioned, you usually have lower expenses and then higher income revenue.
Right.
Even if you already started your business, because sometimes even if you expect to make a lot of money, you may not make it right away. So in that case, if you are, I would say people are making and you're grossing, this is after all of your expenses and everything that you have going on, and you're netting at least 30 to 50K, then I would say that is definitely a good time to then start the election for the S Corp. Ideally, so if you're starting a business and you're expecting to make money, even if it's a year later or 2 years later, starting that S Corp from the beginning, you can definitely do that, because even though you're required to pay yourself on payroll, if you get started and you don't have the revenue to pay yourself yet, you're fine. You can get away with not paying yourself any wages when you get it started. But once it starts rolling and you start paying yourself, then you have to continue doing so.
Right. Just side note, I'm just thinking about how the profit first system and an S Corp kind of run hand in hand. Like you have that payroll account.
Absolutely.
So as you're making money, you set aside funds,
Absolutely.
payroll. It
Absolutely.
makes it much easier.
Right. So I want to give an example of that, or what that can actually look like. So I had a client that came last year, April. So when she came, she had the S Corp because she created it from the beginning. Someone helped her, but she wasn't actually taking wages yet. At the time this was in April, so she had already made about 40,000 for the year so far. So that's just pretty good. But in wages, she had unofficially, and I say unofficially because she wrote herself checks. So she wrote herself checks for the total was $1,300. That's how much she had paid herself only. So I said, okay, well, we implemented the profit first. So she already had the multiple accounts because she already read the book and she created the account. She just didn't know what to do with that at that point.
Right.
So we went ahead, we continued the accounts, we did the assessment, got her percentages, and started setting aside these different percentages. So we got her expenses down to the percentage that we felt was comfortable for her business type. It took some months to get there. And then she managed between April, when she started with me at 40K, no payroll really at 1,300. By the end of the year, she had managed to pay herself $40,000, and she had ended up growing in revenue to 120K. Wow. And then of course we cut her expenses down. When she started, her expenses was at 68%. Wow. We had gotten her percentage down to 32% at the end of the year.
That's amazing.
So it took some work, but with that profit first assessment, we set everything up. We set those accounts up. Every quarter we were meeting to redo the assessments and redo those numbers. And the client she worked really hard, because everything I told her to do, she followed it, and we were able to succeed.
So she listened to you?
Yes, she actually listened. She did,
that's important, y'all. Y'all gotta listen.
Which was like a golden ticket, because that's not always the case.
You gotta listen, y'all.
Not to throw shade out there, but many of you guys do not listen, because you like, oh, well, I want to do this and I want to do that. Because it's going to become a point of time relatively quickly where you start to see the monies grow. You're going to see that within a month. Wow, I still have extra money. It's going to be very tempting to say, well, hey, I got an extra $500, extra 15,000. Let me go buy this and let me go that. But just pump your brakes for a little bit. It's a process to this, and it's going to get there.
I love it. Like, what I love about it is just that the percentages, as your income grows, you can pay yourself more and splurge a little bit on that.
Absolutely.
That's really good. That's amazing how they both kind of work hand in hand. So if someone did not make the S Corp election once they started their business, are they able to request it at a later date?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can do what's called a late election. So usually you have a certain amount of time. Was it like when you first create your business, you have up to the first 3 months or something like that, third month on the 15th day or something like that. You create your business. So if you miss that time and it's 6 months into business, it's a year and a half, it's 5 years into your business, you can still do so. Because I've had clients where we did that, and we had to do a late election. So we have to explain why you were late. And it's ways in which we can use certain wording to put in there to say why you were late. And the IRS they don't really care. It's almost that everybody's practically getting approved for those S Corps. You really have to put something in there bizarre, or you have to have some really bad back tax situation and all of that for them to say, no, we're not going to give you this S Corp. But generally you put in for it, most likely you're going to get that.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say, so you don't see many situations where people are denied.
Right. No. Now, of course, if they start, you owing back taxes and all of that, then they're not going to give you something else to mess up.
Right. Exactly. That's good. Now, have you seen people that want to go from an S Corp like back to a sole proprietor? Have you run into that situation, or would you advise against that?
Well, I haven't saw it personally, but I'm pretty sure it happens. Now, I would like to think the only time something like that might happen, because if you have an S Corp and you're rocking out with that and you're making money and you're doing well, who's going to want to give that up?
Mhm.
So that's you'll probably be insane to do that. I think the only time something like that may happen is if you're not listening and you're not following the instructions, or life happens and you just, the economy changes, your business is not doing as well as it was before, it becomes a strain to maintain the S Corp, then
Right.
somebody may want to revert back. I mean, there's ways in which you can continue it without having to go backwards. But, when you don't have the right professional working with you, you may not necessarily know that you have options.
That's good. That's the key. So when you don't have the right professional, you won't know that you have options. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
might need to put that on my website. I like that.
I know, right?
Write that
You just
down.
made up a nice little catchphrase.
I like that. That's good. Now, there's are there like conditions or certain things that people need to keep in mind when they're making this election for S Corps?
Yeah, so definitely if you are creating an S Corp, you have to keep in mind of who the shareholders are going to be.
Mhm.
So if it's yourself and a spouse, then you may have some kids, you may have people, you want to give percentages of your business to, you'd have to keep in mind of where they're located. So they have to be within the United States. That's definitely one of the big guidelines. So it can't be a resident of the United States. Oh, it has to be a resident of the United States. They can't be a non-resident.
Okay.
It can't be located outside the United States. So that's the big key point when it comes to choosing this election. It's one of the only ones that you have to be of the United States to be able to do so.
Okay.
Yes, that's definitely a big one. I mean, I listed some others in the book, so you guys have to read the book. I can't tell you everything. But that is a big one, because I have had people come to me because they wanted to create an S Corp, but some of the members were not in the United States, or they were non-residents at the time. So then that wasn't an option. So they opted for C Corp instead, because that one you can.
Okay, good to know. So with an S Corp, when are taxes due? Any other little bit of nuggets you want to share with us before they get the book?
Yeah, so one I want to say is that when it comes to no matter what type of business entity you have, taxes is not just when the deadline comes, April 15th, May 15th, March 15th, whenever it may be. It's not just that time of year. It's throughout the year, is something that you should be considering, because sometimes you may have to make estimated tax payments, and that's every quarter. So you don't want to only wait until it's time to file. Then you reach out to your professional to just prepare your taxes and file it. It should be done throughout the year. But when it comes to the deadline for the S Corp, it's actually March 15th. It's when you have to have it filed, prep, ready to go, and it's submitted. Now, the nice part about the S Corp is that you don't pay any taxes on the S Corp. The S Corp itself does not pay any taxes at all. However, you as the shareholder, whatever profits the business made, it rolls on over to you and you pay whatever taxes on it. But if you're paying yourself on wages because you're on payroll, you're paying a good bit of taxes, and your business is paying the other portion of the taxes for you. So that's a nice little incentive to kind of help cut down the cost, especially if you're making a lot of money.
That's good. Okay, good to know. Thank you much for sharing that. And how can the good folks get in contact with you? Just if they wanted more information on how to set up an S Corp.
Absolutely. So if you want to get in contact with me, my IG and Facebook, you can put SD Negotiator. So that stands for Shane the Negotiator. So I just kind of abbreviated things. S is in Sam, D is in dog, and then Negotiator. So you put that in Google and you'll see all of my sites and everything pop up. But if you want to go directly to the website, because you don't want to go to social media, which is you would just put in Profit First Taxes. So that's PROFITFIRST, and then taxes, TAXES.com. There is tons and tons of resources on my blog. So you check out the blog and you can read up on S Corps and LLCs and C Corps. Everything is there that you can read up. And then you can always click any of the links there to schedule some time with me in 15-minute strategy session to see how we can possibly work together. Or if you already heard this podcast and you like, I'm dying to work with Shane the Negotiator, you don't necessarily have to schedule a 15-minute consultation strategy session. You you can just go straight to onboarding or schedule an actual consultation if it's something more in depth you want us to discuss.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. And so we will also share the link where they can purchase the book as well, because the book, as I mentioned before, is jam-packed with gems that you will need to take your business to the next level. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much, Shane, for your time. If there's nothing else that you want to share with us, we will we'll sign out and we will share with them the link and the information so that they can order this book.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on there. The only thing I just want to say is that if you are not working with a professional, it doesn't have to be me, be anyone, just reach out and get going. This is 2023, and we do not want to be doing the same things we were doing in 2021 that was not serving us well.
Preach. And I'm sorry, let me just say, if you find something on TikTok, Instagram, trust but verify.
Yes.
Trust and verify. Okay. So please get with a professional, ask some questions, and make sure you know what you're getting into. So that was good. Thank you for sharing that, Shane.
You're welcome.
All right, family, we will see you again next week. And thank you for joining us.